Hi, this is Eric Smith. Time to do another quick look video, and I thought I would do it from Numbers chapter 30 verses 3 through 5, and the Word of God reads this way. Or if a woman makes a vow to the Lord and binds herself by some agreement while in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow and the agreement by which she has bound herself, and her father holds his peace, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement with which she has bound herself shall stand. But if her father overrules her on the day that he hears, then none of her vows nor her agreements by which she has bound herself shall stand, and the Lord will release her because her father overruled her. In the 30th chapter of Numbers, we have some interesting verses from verse 1 all the way to verse 16 that talks about vows. It was really important when you vowed a vow to the Lord that you kept it. It was something that was serious in the theocracy of Old Testament Israel. And in these three verses, it talks about a woman making a vow, primarily a daughter in her father's house. And it says, if that woman makes a vow to the Lord, and this is important because it's always a vow to the Lord, and binds herself by some agreement while in her father's house in her youth, it's your daughter, and her father hears her vow and the agreement by which she has bound herself, and her father holds his peace, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement with which she has bound herself shall stand. So if the father heard his daughter make a vow or make an agreement, and she vowed it unto the Lord, and the father said nothing and held his peace, then that young lady was bound by that agreement. But in verse 5 it says, but if her father overrules her on that day that he hears it, then none of her vows nor her agreements by which she has bound herself shall stand. And why? Because the Lord's going to release her because her father overruled her. Dear Christian, you may think of these verses and go, what does it have to do with being a father today as a Christian? We're not under a theocracy in Israel, and these vows were important. Well, there's still a spiritual dynamic to that holds today. If my daughter, Rebecca, makes a vow or an agreement, I'm wholeheartedly, as she picks up the phone, I'm wholeheartedly going to tell her that she needs to keep that vow. And that she needs to do that if it's something important. But if it's something silly, and it's something that there's a dynamic to it where I think that she could get hurt, or it's something that she shouldn't do because it may be sinful, then I'm going to say, you don't really need to do that. In the Old Testament, it was serious when a young lady made a vow. The father was responsible. It talks about the headship of the home. The father is to watch over his daughters, and a husband is supposed to watch over his wife. Doesn't mean that the woman has no worth. What it means is that we're the head of the household, and when it comes to vows, that the husband and the father needed to watch over the daughter or the wife. Because if he didn't, then that wife or that daughter was going to be responsible for the vow they made. I make sure I check everything that my daughter does. I discuss things with her. I talk to her about the people she talks to and the promises she makes. That's my job as a father. And in Numbers chapter 30, verses 3 through 5, this is what it's talking about in Old Testament Israel, but it still has a dynamic today. So, again, this was Numbers 30, verses 3 through 5. Just wanted to do a quick look to encourage you, particularly as a Christian man, that if you're out there, that you're the head of your household, you need to watch over, oversee, and check what your daughters are doing and even what your wives are doing. You're the head of the household. You're not supposed to just let them say and do things without checking it, particularly if it has to do with a vow. And even though we're not under Old Testament theocracy, there's a dynamic today where we still need to check our family. We need to check our daughters and our sons. As always, if the videos on this channel have encouraged your Christian walk and edified you in any way whatsoever, but you have not subscribed to my channel yet and you want to, hit the button. If you want to leave any comments, please do so, but please don't be snarky. Please do not be profane. We want to be Christ-like in everything we say and do. And until we do another quick look, I want to tell you something. My daughter right here, my daughter Rebecca, is so special to me. I want to make sure that I guide her, lead her, and check everything she says and does. She is a blessing to me, and all fathers should think of their daughters as a blessing. So we need to watch the things they do and watch the things they say, and we need to check it out. And you know what? I'm quite sure that she's going to check things that I say and do too, because she's a good daughter. But you know what? Christian man, make sure that you're checking the vows that your daughters make, because it may be a wrong thing, and it was serious in Old Testament Israel, and you know what? It's still serious today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and God bless.